Welcome to Unstereotypical Stories by C.F. Edwards. You're listening to Mora, Book 1.
Chapter 1. Dear Diary. I hate my parents. They are the reason for all my pain. I know that sounds dramatic, but I blame them for my unattractive appearance and the frightening reflection that stares back at me in the mirror. Most children would be happy to go to a private school and live in a big, beautiful home. But what good is that if you're unattractive and borderline crazy? Let's start with the unattractive part. Having material things is nice, but people treat you better and are kinder to you when you fit in with what they consider conventional beauty. When you look in the mirror and your reflection is hideous, unattractive, and unsightly, it can be damaging. Trust me, I know. My name is Mora Manning, and I am grossly underweight. Yet my mother, Mary Ann, calls me lean. If the wind blew a little too hard, it would wrap me up in a tornado like Dorothy, and I'd find myself in the middle of Oz trying to find my way home. My mediocre and impolite peers remind me of my ever so visible flaws by giving me nicknames. The boys call me Dark and Bugly, referencing my big brown eyes and dark skin. And the girls have coined the oh-so-creative and mentally stimulating Bora Mora, because my mother refuses to allow me to wear makeup, resulting in my plain and boring appearance. She says its toxins are harmful for my skin. I wear my thick, bristly hair in a big, puffy ponytail at the top of my head with long bangs to distract from my oversized forehead. If I were a couple shades lighter, had contacts to replace my bifocal lenses, and received a relaxer that straightened my coarse, bristly hair, maybe I might be attractive enough to find a boy who likes me. I've begged my mother for two things for my 17th birthday. A relaxer to straighten out this kinky hair, and contacts. Apparently, it's unsanitary to stick pieces of plastic in your eye, and according to her, my hair is thick and healthy. She's a beautician and specializes in healthy hair. But I don't care about thick and healthy hair. I want a relaxer because it will straighten my coarse curls and not only make them more manageable, it'll make me more beautiful. I often fantasize about having hair like the girls in those Pantene Pro V commercials that dance in the wind. Even a lace front wig would be an improvement to the hair I have. How else am I supposed to compete in this new school and new grade? These 11th grade girls look like supermodels. Long, straight, flowing hair rules the world. Unfortunately, because of my mother's prehistoric beliefs, I have to continue to wear unattractive bifocal lenses and walk around with this big poof of healthy but unmanaged hair on my head. I look like a dark-skinned olive oil with glasses. The only difference is, I don't have a Popeye to save me from this pitiful existence. Mary Ann, my mother, has nice, wavy, flowing long hair like my sister Rain, so they don't understand what I'm going through. Now couple that with my unattractive name, and hopefully you understand why I'm unhappy. I mean, who names their child Mora? It sounds like a rip-off Dora doll you buy at one of those second-hand stores. Why couldn't I be a Marissa or an Emily? They named my sister Rain Falls, while I'm Mora Lindora. Apparently, I'm named after some great-great-grandparent that I never had the pleasure of meeting. Now, let's discuss the crazy part. Did I tell you I see ghosts and experience vivid nightmares that cause me to wake up drenched in sweat and on the verge of a panic attack? I also received strange, cryptic texts that seemed to deliver the same message. Be quiet. They disappear when I show them to others and reappear when I view them alone. My earliest memory of seeing a ghost was at 8. One night while I slept, the abrupt slamming of my bedroom door awakened me. My parents allowed me to keep my door open so the light from the hallway would spill over into my bedroom. They thought a little light might ease my imagination and keep me from hijacking their bed and inundating them with my late-night screams. When the door slammed shut, I jumped up, backed up against my headboard, and pulled my knees as close to my chest as possible. My quivering fingers held my plush blankets just high enough to cover my face, but low enough to keep my eyes visible. As my eyes peered through the darkness, I caught a glimpse of moonlight. It crept through the open curtains like a thief tiptoeing in the night. I thought the draft from the enormous bay window in the corner of my room might have been the culprit, but when I looked at my window, it was closed, and right before me was a ghost hovering above the floor. I nearly screamed, but when I opened my mouth, no sound came forth. The ghost had coarse, thick hair that was put into a ponytail and big round eyes covered by spectacles. It floated toward me and was wearing a long nightgown identical to mine. The gown danced around her without the aid of wind. I can still envision her solemn face. It resembled mine, but was void of color. She didn't smile, and she moved as if she was in slow motion. It looked like me, if I were reimagined in one of those black and white movies from the 40s and 50s that my mother loved to watch. She had my rounded nose, hairstyle, and my facial expression. It was terrifying. She raised one of her folded hands in front of her, brought it to her mouth, and pressed her long and wrinkled index finger against her crusted black lips. I can still smell the odor that her presence produced. It was like black tar being repaved on an old road. On many of those nights when I had nightmares and received those unfamiliar text notifications, I would scream and run into my parents' room. But this time I froze. My fear cemented my legs to the ground. She crept towards me, her index finger still pressed against her lips. The closer she approached, the more fearful I became. When she was halfway toward my bed, she stopped and placed her hand down in front of her. My racing heartbeat slowed, and for a moment I thought she would leave and go about her business. Then she dashed towards me and pressed her face towards mine and said, "Shh,
Mora!"
in a petrifying and spine-chilling tone that sounded like a child's voice. I screamed so loud that my mother and father ran into my room and tried to calm me down, but she dissipated into the air like an early morning mist. At first, my parents responded as any parent would. They consoled me and told me it was just a nightmare, and that if I stopped reading horror novels and watching scary movies, it would go away. So, I followed their suggestions and traded my horror novels for romance. But the ghost sightings and nightmares didn't stop. They kept happening. My parents made me believe that something was wrong with me, and I believed it too. They made me question if my idiosyncratic behavior was responsible for the dissolution of their marriage. The one day not long after the incident, my parents called me down from my room and told me they were taking me to see a psychiatrist. Since my father was a psychiatrist, the American Medical Association considered it unethical for him to treat me, so he referred me to one of his colleagues. I had to decide, would I lie or tell the truth? I broke down in my best fake cry and told them I was doing it for attention. I quoted an article from Psychology Weekly that talked about child abandonment issues and being an insecure attachment. Yes, I lied, but I would not be ugly and crazy. Ugly mocha girls that are crazy end up in mental asylums or small cramped jail cells. Pretty girls that are crazy become pop stars who get a slap on the wrist and go to rehab. So, I did what any scared child would do. I stopped telling my parents about my weird occurrences. But that didn't stop the occurrences from continuing, and it didn't stop them from taking me to see a psychiatrist. A few days later, I was on medication. At first, all the abnormal occurrences stopped. But it wasn't long before it all started happening again. The nightmares, ghost, and text messages became more frequent and got stronger and more intimidating with each encounter. I knew I was unattractive, but now I wondered if I was losing my mind.
If you don't want to wait 2 weeks for the next full episode, you can get the audiobook and ebook on Amazon.com. Episodes are released on the 1st and the 15th of every month. Sign up to my email list to get free stories and to find out when my next unstereotypical story is releasing. Happy listening.